Hey, it is Melissa with Sincerely Creative Mom. We are going to talk about the wreath kit and we're going to create it in this video. This kit included the sign, a roll of mess, which I've already cut what we needed, and the ribbon for the ribbon tails. So these are the ribbon tails. And then 4 ribbons for your bow, the pipe cleaners you need, the frame that you need. It also came with little zip tie mounts to go on the back of your sign that you'll use for your pipe cleaners. I encourage you, if you have a staple gun, to use the staple gun instead of those mounts. Those are just provided as if you don't have a staple gun, they will work. Yes, they will work, but they're not guaranteed to stay and to stick forever on your sign. So just a warning there, just a caution. If you have a staple gun, grab that baby out and I'll show you how I'm going to use mine. So again, these are the ribbon tails. They were folded kind of like this when you got them, and they're 14 inches. These are 14 inches. And all I did was, not this one because it's the bow, but all I did was put my scissors in there and cut where that fold is. Nice and easy. Don't worry about them being perfect. I promise they're going to be just fine. I'm going to set these ones aside. The ribbons for the bows, I'm going to set those aside. And then also the last thing I did, once I had them all cut and I had individual pieces, I folded it and cut on the fold up towards the edge so that I had a nice pretty kind of V look there. Nice polished finish for the edges. And then after I had both of those cut, I put my favorite on the top. So my plaid is going to be kind of my supporter. Put my favorite on the top. I lined them up the best that I could. And remember, they are not all going to be perfect because you just cut the whole thing. It's totally fine. I lined them up and found the center, folded it, and set those aside. So I want you can pause this video if you want. Do that and get that ready. I also used this mesh and I cut it 20 inches long. So I used my rotary cutter, okay? I applied pressure and cut. This is a self-healing mat. If you don't have a rotary cutter, if you don't have a self-healing mat, that's fine. Just use your scissors and cut all the way, okay? 20 inches is what you need. 20 inches is what I did. The first 6 pieces that come off your roll, I'm going to use on the outside of our frame because there's 6 spots there. And then the next 6 pieces, because remember you need 12, I'm going to use those on the inside. Okay, this is what we have left after we're done. I'm going to set that aside. We are going to go ahead and prepare our sign for now. This is so that we can get it out of the way and have it all ready when we need it so that we don't have to do anything special to it. And, just to, prepare. So I always like to prepare the best I can in the beginning so that I don't have to stop while, in motion. So I am going to cut this off. I do keep these because I buy door hangers and I use this rope as my door hanger rope sometimes, so that I don't have to buy rope. So I'm going to keep that. And then what you want to do is if you have the zip tie mounts, the one thing you want to make sure you're doing is adding a little bit of crazy glue. So you want to add a little bit of crazy glue between the sticky part and the wood so that you're just offering up a little bit of extra help for that zip tie mount. However, and I will say again, those are offered to you just in case you don't have a staple gun. If you have a staple gun, I encourage you to use that because it's going to be a nice and secure way to hold your pipe cleaners on. I am going to use what you just saw me cut up here was the edge of the ribbon spool because my staples are 1/4 of an inch. My sign, not quite 1/4 of an inch. So if I don't use some barrier here, the staple's gonna go right through. So I did add a little bit of barrier there. I'm gonna put my pipe cleaner here. I'm gonna take my staple gun, nice and firm, push in so that it does go in as far as it can. You might add 2 if you're feeling a little bit more comfortable. Okay. And then do the same thing to the other side, nice and tight. Now this is going to help us secure our sign to the wreath. And so if you're using the zip tie mounts, what you want to do is peel off the back, put a little bit of super glue on the back there, stick it right on, wait till it's, you know, secured a little bit, and then you're going to slide your pipe cleaner through the top of that thing, all right? And then you're going to twist it just to make sure it's kind of on there, and then you'll set it aside for when we need it next. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is add our pipe cleaners to the frame. There are 12 pipe cleaners. You're going to use your right where, oops, this one didn't cut all the way out through. That's fine. Let me just get that right there. These are laser cut, so there could be one where they haven't gone all the way through. Just poke it through. So there are 12 spots for the pipe cleaners. You want to find where the notch and holes are, and your pipe cleaners are going to go through there, and I'll show you how just now. One thing I'm going to make sure is when I put these through, on the outside, I'm going to make sure my twist tie twists towards the outside of that notch, not in it, just on the wood around the outside. And then on the inside, I'm going to do the same thing. Twist it right near the notch. And that is so that the layers will help separate a little bit. So not tremendous amount, but it will, I promise, it will help the overall vision. So again, see how it's right here, right on the outside, not near the hole, not in the middle. It is truly along the outside of that wood. So these are my outside. I am going to keep continuing to add on the inside. Again, those twists go right near the notch. So this frame, super easy, very user-friendly, has everything in place for you to use exactly where you need it for this design. Okay, easy breezy. Then of course we have all of our mesh cut, and we're going to grab our mesh. We're going to work on the outside first. Okay, we're going to work on the outside first. Again, 20 inches long on the mesh. Now I do have it ruffle side, I have it curl, it's curl side down. So I'm going to ruffle, you see it's kind of like this. So the curl side's going down. I'm going to ruffle right up that center as best as I can, keeping it right up the center. Kind of pulling it forward towards me with my fingertips rather than my nails, but that's just how I do it. Grab it nice and tight. I'm going to go right on the top there. And we're going to work on the outside layer first. Outside layer first goes in there nice and tight. Crisscross, twist, twist. Now I have this beautiful ruffle. All I'm going to do is kind of overlap these sides here and overlap the side here. Now we have what I call a pancake ruffle, so that it's round. We're going to kind of de-shape it a little bit, but it's mostly round and flat like a pancake. Okay, so we'll do that all the way around so that all of them have the same look. And then we'll add our ribbons in. This is a really pretty mesh. Again, if you're watching, even if you didn't purchase the kit, This is a really good, it has that snowdrift going through it, and the foil, really, really pretty. Again, as I mentioned, that this is the first 6 cuts that came off that roll, because they are a little more expanded. They're not close, they weren't closer to the inside of the roll, where they're a little more tightly wound and bound, whatever you want to call it. And so they, when you put them in there like this, they do release a little better and expand, which in a nice way. So they're kind of taking up a lot of real estate and doing exactly what we want them to do. Once you have everything prepared, this does go a little quicker. So I encourage you, if you haven't prepared all the ribbon or all the mesh, I encourage you just pause and get yourself ready so that you can kind of move along with us. Also, if you're just doing this for the very first time, if you've never used mesh before, cut an extra piece of that mesh and just play with it first. You know, once you try to scrunch this or ruffle this, and then when you let it go, it does unravel, it does fray. It's a woven material, y'all. As soon as we cut it, that is going to happen, especially once we play with it for a little bit. It just kind of aggravates those ends and makes them want to come apart. So if you have never done this before, use what's left over and cut a piece and just practice with it before we get going. You will notice that as you go along, yes, your mesh will fray, but we do have a layer of ribbon, another layer of mesh, another layer of ribbon, and a sign, and a bow. It's all going to go on top of your, on top of that mesh. So not that I'm saying it's okay. I mean, you don't want to play with it too much so it doesn't get worse, but you won't see it, okay? And our job is to not make it worse on purpose. So ruffle it, put it in there, leave it alone. All right, ruffle it, put it in there, leave it alone. At the very end, if you need to, something's really wonky or you got to fix it, then you can go at the very end. But I wouldn't fix it along the way. Just let it be. All right, so we're going to take our ribbons, right? And I always put my favorite on the top and a supporter on the bottom. So you're going to see more of the top, and then I'm just going to scrunch up the center just like I did the mesh, kind of fold it, make it come out towards me. It's going to go right down in that pipe cleaner, crisscross nice and tight, twist, 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 about 7 or 8 times. You just don't want it to come out of there. And then you're going to continue along the whole way as long as you have nothing that is going one directional. So this is one directional, but I meant like if it was going this way, then we would put it in there a little bit different. In some of them in there a little bit different. This one, I just want to make sure that you see how the left side is kind of upside down and the right side is going the right way. I just want to make sure every time I put them in, it's doing that same thing. So the left side gets to go upside down and the right side gets to go the right way. With the one directional going in this way, the way it's going here, there's no way to really avoid that unless you're taking, cutting the ribbon in the center and, putting 2 pieces in for each ribbon instead of 1. And quite honestly, with the kit, you don't have enough to do that. And it's going to be just fine. It's going to be just fine. Sometimes when I can help it, I try to make sure I put things in the right way. This sort of one directional ribbon isn't the one. Okay, so I'm putting them right down in there, nice and tight, crisscross, twist, 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 twist. Oops. Getting myself mixed up here. So the ribbons, again, 14 inches long. I love how they come off that mesh just a little bit, making it a little more kind of wavy in the air. When the air is kind of, you know, going by on your door. Makes it a little bit visible, a little bit noticeable. People walking by or driving by can see something moving on your door, catches their eye, of course. And they're like, oh, it's a cute wreath. Okay, then from here, I'm going to push this down and push down nice and tight, and then pull these apart so that they separate and I can see all the ribbons. As I go along, I'm going to keep in a pattern so that I always can see all of those ribbons, plaid, gingerbread, all the way across, all the way around. And I'm going to keep that pattern for the top and the bottom. Trust me when I say it's just easier on the eye. It doesn't make it look like something is wrong, or doesn't make it clumpy or choppy so that your eye stops to look at, you know, something different. I just want to look at it as a whole and make it kind of pleasing and balancing to the eye. So I'm going to make sure I keep that pattern going. Now I know people like to be different. That's fine. It's totally fine. Different is fine. But I'm just telling you what I think from a designer's perspective and the reason why we keep that pattern going. As far as this design now, there's so many different styles and designs to do, or that you could do, you know, and different rules kind of apply to different things. This style wreath is it's so simple as far as, you know, if something is out of place or if something just doesn't kind of blend well, it's going to be very noticeable. So it's going to make, you know, folks stop instead of just enjoying the wreath as a whole. And so, you know, that makes a difference when you're saying go in a pattern, don't make it clumpy. In other words, don't put the two reds together and then the two plaids together. You see how that starts to look real choppy? Whereas if we have it like this and they're blending, you know, every other, it's just a nice blend all the way through. Okay, now here's the boring part, and you can pause or fast forward as we go through this. I'm going to do the exact same thing as on the outside as I did on the inside as I did on the outside. The only difference is the mesh will completely overlap. You see in this one, they kind of barely touch here. They barely overlap. On the center, they're in a little bit closer, so they're going to completely overlap. And nothing different there other than it's going to overlap. And your ribbons are going to get a little closer. That's also fine. And then at the very, very end, you saw how I pushed that down and pushed it down, straight down. I just do one little different thing differently with at the end on the top layer. So, you know, feel free. You can stick around and watch the rest, or fast forward to the bow. You know, sometimes I come up with different tips as we could talk along. So feel free to stay and keep me company in the comments. If you haven't already subscribed or followed us, make sure you're doing that. Again, I'm going straight down. Straight down. Crisscross. Twist, twist. Overlap. Overlap. And then making sure everything is kind of inside out. Now I always leave myself such a little spot to do the ruffling, and you know, it catches on each other, it catches on the other mesh that's already in. This is a really cute design. Overlap. Overlap. Now it is taking up some of that ribbon on the outside and covering it up. That's fine. We have another layer coming in, and it's going to make a nice kind of tiered layer look. It'll look really good. You also see at this point with this layer going in, you're starting to see less of that, less of the frame. Now, if you don't know, the frame is a patent pending product for myself and Damon from Deco Exchange. We are co-inventors on the frame. It goes with my pancake measurements, design, what is it, recipe that I created back in 2018. And so love, love, love the style, and the frame just kind of makes everything so much easier. So if anybody loves the frame, it's totally me. But your customer, they don't want to see the frame, of course. They want to see all the fun stuff and the pretty stuff. And so after this layer is on, you start to see that no matter what mesh you're using, honestly, this mesh is a really good one, but no matter what mesh you're using, you'll start to see it covered up at this layer. You'll put this layer on, then the ribbons on, and you'll see less of the frame. The goal, obviously, at the very end is you don't see the frame. It's not what your customer wants to see. It's not you're trying to sell. It's not, it's not any of that. Or if you're making this for yourself, you of course don't want to see it. But now you know a little tip that it's a patent pending product. And yours truly has a part in that, which I'm very proud of. It's an expensive process, so I'm extra proud of it. All right, so here we go. Last piece going in. Last piece going in, going straight down. Just moving that mesh kind of out of the way, all the way down so it's touching that frame. I love the mesh because it's kind of like a little brown, little red, little white, just like our gingerbreads. Super, super cute. Nice texture going through there. Okay. And then the same things with the ribbons, making sure that that same side is going upside down, going in, facing out towards me. Everything twist, 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 twist 7 or 8 times. The bow, if you've never made a bow, I encourage you to, again, if you have other ribbon, practice on a different ribbon than the one we're going to make for the bow. If not, it's okay. Use the ribbon that we put in first. Use that as your practice so that the ribbons that go on the top look the best. Every one that I pick up, I still looking at it the wrong way. Okay, so because I've made so many of these, I know exactly how big the bow has to be. I know exactly where the sign has to go. So we already have our sign prepped and ready to go. We'll go ahead and put that in as soon as we have these secured and in the right place. I'm just going to cut off that excess just because I don't really need it. It's just going to get in the way. I don't have to cut it off. This is a wire cutters. I did steal it from my husband's tool box out in the garage. I did steal another one from him, and it ended up being my favorite And then, of course, I don't know what I did with it. Okay, push it in and send it. I'm going to push it down, but I'm also going to push it in. Okay, so I'm going to help this layer become a little bit more scrunched in so I can see that outer layer just a little bit more. Just a teeny tiny bit. I'm going to push down and in. And then I'm still going to take this apart, up and down, side to side. Very important that we do that. Oopsie. Up and down, side to side. Now again, you haven't seen me go back to fix after I move on from that layer or that ribbon. I'm not going back to fix them. I'll do it all at the end and everything will be in its place, in its spot. We'll make sure. This is really cute. This is a super cute kit. If you are looking for any other kits that we have available, or if you're local here in Michigan looking for some in-person classes, you can find all of our fun stuff, all of our important stuff over at learnfrommelissa.com. Should be in the description of this video as well. Learnfrommelissa.com. Beautiful, super duper pretty. Okay, and then we're going to take our sign and I'm going to place it so that I can fill 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to fill those pipe cleaners. I don't want to see those. I'm going to just put them in where I can't see them. I'm going to put that pipe cleaner right through. This is the hardest part of the whole thing. Put it right through the mesh. All those layers. So much fun to get that all the way through. This is definitely the hardest part. The pipe cleaners have 2 wires. So pipe cleaners, 2 wires mixed together. And so when you try to put it through all these layers, it doesn't want to do that. It gets caught on, the fibers, it gets caught on the, oh, there we go. Finally, and I'm just going to wrap it around the frame. I'll turn it over in just a second so y'all can see. And use it around that frame. Tighten it around the frame. Go around the other side, do the same thing. Go right through all the mesh. So one is going kind of towards the inside of that frame. And then I put my hand underneath that mesh, looking for the other one to come through. Come on. So the hard thing is you don't want to put this, you don't want to put the concentrating. You don't want to move the mesh out of the way because, oh, I thought it was through. No, God, Grady. You don't want to move the mesh out of the way because you need it to stay in place. And this is helping it stay in place if we could get it through. Come on. I'm going to show you what it does. Look. Oh, of course it came apart. It gets stuck. Anyways, this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to pull it through. So I pulled one right through the center, and one I pulled through underneath here and just pulled it out this way so that I could grab it. Now you see that extra hole right there? I could have just grabbed that other pipe cleaner and slid it through there instead of going around the whole frame, but it worked out just fine. Okay, so my sign is in. Again, not going to play with the mesh or the ribbons until I'm all done. So then we're going to go into our bow. So I'm going to set this aside for a second. And then we're going to start with our first layer on the bottom. First layer on the bottom. And again, because I make so many of these, I know what the measurements are, so I don't have to measure against my design, which is nice. I'm going to use an easy bow maker, but if you don't have an easy bow maker, you can do it by hand. It's totally fine. I'm going to show you how to do it by hand. So I'm going to take the 2.5 inch goes on the bottom. I'm going to go about 7 inches on the tail. I'm going to hold that ribbon there and make my first loop. And the first loop is going to be about 6 inches. So 6 inches on the loop, 7 inches on the tail, and then I'm going to pinch it all together, pull that apart so I have room to twist. I'm going to twist that back ribbon, bring it for my next loop. Okay, I'm going to pinch, twist one more time, that back ribbon, twist it. So I'm not twisting it around the ribbon, I'm just twisting the back ribbon. Then make a loop. Same thing, pinch that back one and twist. I'm going to put it in our easy bow maker. I'm going to have the 2 loops on one side and the 2 tails on the other side. So this bow, every layer has 2 loops and 2 tails in one loop and 2 loops on the other side. And then every time I put a layer in, those 2 loops are going to go opposite sides. Okay, so I'm just using that to measure. I'm going to pinch, twist, loop. So my first layer was a 6-inch loop, and everything from there gets a little bit smaller. Okay, pinch, twist, and then tail. So my 2 loops are over here. My 2 loops are going to go on the other side. I'll trim all those tails at the same time, so they'll go in. Again, a little bit. The tail's a little bit longer than the loop. My loop is a little bit shorter than the last loop. Okay, so just a little bit shorter, about a finger length shorter. Pinch. Pull it apart, twist, loop, pinch, twist, loop, pinch, and twist. Now 2 loops are over here, so my 2 loops get to go on the opposite side. Then the last layer, of course the gingerbread, super duper cute. I'm going to make one tiny loop in the center. That's not going to count as my loops. Okay, it's about a 3 or 4 inch loop. 4 inches exactly. I'm going to pinch. Does not count as my 3 loops. Pull it apart, twist, loop, pinch, twist, loop, pinch, twist, loop, pinch, and twist. Now you have the same amount of ribbon as I do. I'm looking for those 2 loops, which are over here, so the 2 loops are going on the other side. You have the same amount of ribbon I do, so if you start with the length that I suggested on the bottom, make sure everything gets a little bit smaller as you go up. You will have a bow, just enough ribbon for the bow that we made here. I'm going to lift that up, squeeze nice and tight as I lift it up. Now, what I did in the beginning, before I had an easy bow maker, I would take my pipe cleaner after every layer, and just like this, add my pipe cleaner after every layer, and then make my next layer, take the pipe cleaner off, add my next layer to the top, put the pipe cleaner back in. So there is a, there is a way, of course, if you don't have an easy bow maker, you can totally do it in your hand. Or if you're even more talented, which I am not, if you're even more talented, you can hold them all in your hand and just add the next layer in your hand. I am not. I cannot do that. I'm not coordinated. That's not meant for me. So all I'm doing right now is just trimming those tails, trimming the tails, every single one. So I'm also not only am I trimming them, putting the dovetail on, but I'm making sure the length gets good. Now once it gets in the wreath, if we need to adjust it from there, we totally can once again. The first thing I'm going to do is, this becomes the bottom part of your bow. So these tails are going to come off the bottom. Okay, so I'm just going to put that right up to the center, kind of squish it around so that that becomes my center loop. And then I'm going to pull by layer, starting from the bottom and working my way to the top. I'm going to pull my ribbons apart from each other. Okay, so I want to keep a pattern going so that they're not next to each other, just like I did for the ribbon tails. So as you can see, I have the plaid, green, plaid, green, plaid. That was the first layer and the second layer. Then the second layer and the third layer. So I did peppermint, green, peppermint, green, peppermint. So keeping them going in between each other. And then the peppermint and the gingerbread. So I have gingerbread, peppermint, gingerbread, peppermint, gingerbread, peppermint. So I keep that going all the way around so that it's nice and balanced. The color is all through, especially when you have that green going through. It's going to be very noticeable if it's not kind of balanced in the right spots. Remember, you're the ruler of the ribbon, so make it go where you want it to go. And if I just hold on to that center, it's really easy to kind of move things around. It's going to be even easier once we put it in the wreath. So the last thing, of course, making sure that those longer tails are facing out towards the bottom. I'm going to put them right in. Y'all, I enjoy teaching. I hope you enjoy learning. I love the pancake wreath. I hope that you were inspired and learned something. Don't forget to subscribe, of course, to our channel so you can see all sorts of different fun things. We do also in our in the videos, if you want to go back and look, we have a tree topper video, we have bow videos, we have all sorts of cool things. So make sure you check those out. Again, links to all the things we can help you out with can be found over at learnfrommelissa.com. So I'm doing the same thing right now, just adding that in, taking my time, so I'm being patient. I'm loving this pipe cleaner. Is the best pipe cleaner on the planet. It's so nice. It's so cooperative. There we go. See, it heard me. All right. So I'm going to put it right in that open spot. I don't want it to come up over the bow, over the sign too much. But a little bit is definitely okay, making it look like it belongs. And that the bow wasn't, or the sign wasn't, or anything wasn't an after effect. It all becomes one. And then, of course, once it's nice and secured in there, which I went right around the frame, just like I did with the sign. And then once it's in, I can make sure I go through and put those loops and all the things exactly where I need them to be, want them to be. little easier to do once it's in, secured. Super duper cute. Y'all, I hope this helped. I hope you enjoyed. If you purchase this kit, I hope you enjoy your kit. I can't wait to see what you did. And then the very last thing I do is make sure, let me zoom you out here a little bit. Make sure I go around the complete outside and make all of the tails. Remember I said I don't play with them throughout. I wait till the end. Make sure all the tails come out nicely towards the edge so that when I take it and put it on the camera to take a picture, or when you pick it up and put it on your front door, it is perfect. All those tails, all those points of your dovetails coming out towards the edge. Making sure no one's hiding in there. No one gets to hide around here. Just my kids. There you go. Just like that. I love this one. We do have other kits available, so make sure you check them out. Again, you can find our kits and everything else we have to offer over at learnfrommelissa.com. I love this. I hope you did too. Again, it is nice and thin. It's nice and thin to go between your main door, storm door. The back is nice and clean, nice and clear. Doesn't look all messy and crazy. I enjoyed this. I hope you did too. Yeah, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Bye, y'all.